You're listening to Groundbreaking Women in Conversation. Today I have the great pleasure to talk to Anita Jung, who's a licensed psychotherapist and professional counselor. She serves as the president-elect for the American Society of Clinical Hypnosis and is the president of the Central Texas Society of Hypnosis and holds the status of approved clinical consultant for ASH. She's recognized as an international trainer, lecturer, presenter, and practitioner of hypnosis for over 20 years. Her very unique approach connects music, mind-body approaches to assist individuals to make changes of their life. She has graced us with a beautiful guided meditation
Anita Jung.
trance
It's
to
so nice
address
to be with
working
you.
with fear.
I'm so delighted that
Enjoy
you
the
said yes
conversation.
to the invitation of having a talk with me.
Hi, Eva. Thanks for having me. And I'm really grateful that I actually get to talk to you.
We're speaking between cross continents right now, even though we share the same mother tongue, we share German, a little bit with a different dialect. Me coming from Cologne, and you speak a beautiful Southern dialect. But for now, for this conversation, I think it's good to have a shared language to do this in English. We just met each other last time where we could physically still connect was at the beautiful Erickson conference. And I think it was the 40th anniversary.
That's right. The last Erickson Congress.
Oh, that's true. Also the last Erickson conference. Wow. And that was only in December. And it seems almost like a marker. It was such a significant gathering. And right after that, pretty much close after that, so many things happened. And so I just wanted to connect first with you. How are you experiencing yourself this dramatic change time for yourself?
It's really interesting because I hardly recognize my life very much like a lot of people right now, right? It's like it's in this world where I'm really confined to a different way of moving through my day, to a different way of moving through the night, a different way of inhabiting my world,
Yes.
a different way of attuning and being with my clients in a virtual world. It's quite interesting. I feel that we're facing this invisible adversary, this tiny little virus, right? That we can't even see. It's invisible. It doesn't want to kill us. It just wants to live. And yet, what do we do? You know, it takes us, at least it takes me definitely to that edge of my vulnerability, and then having to resurface again to be in the service of others as a psychotherapist is really important for me. You know, how can I be real with my clients and tend to them in an authentic way if I'm standing on the edge of my vulnerability at all times? And I think that is something that I had to ask myself when it first came into being that, you know, they canceled our biggest music festival in Austin, South by Southwest, where hundreds of bands come from all over the world. And they just said, we have to be safe, we can't do it. And I thought that was actually a really amazing stand that they took.
Right.
To the next thing happening, our ASH conference that I was planning as the president-elect for an entire year with my committee, the program committee, and then we are canceling that and rescheduling it, now moving it into the virtual world, right? And then starting online with my client, where my first weekend was like, gripping fear in some way. It feels like the thing that I'm feared most in my life, living in a foreign country, pretty far away from my homeland, which, you know, was like, maybe if there was a war one day and I couldn't get to Germany, to my loved ones, that would be so difficult. And now it's like the borders closed, and it's because of a little tiny virus that is invisible, and I can actually not get there. And I think having to sit with that shadow, right, in my own way of my own fear, how do I relate to that? And I remember after that first weekend, I was sitting outside in my garden, which is my saving grace right now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, if I had 2 weeks to live, right, what would I do?
Mm-hmm.
A few weeks ago, I would have told you I'd get in the next airplane, book a flight, do this, do that. And now I had to sit and it's almost like that moment where the ground turns to ocean, right? And what do? Do you go under or do you swim?
Yes.
And I had to swim, and I think it gave me, and I think just my responsibility to my clients,
Mm-hmm.
and gave me that sense of how do I show up for them? How can I be authentic when they face those uncertainties and I hear it? Do I just say, oh yes, don't be feeling bad? It's like, how do I sit with them? How do I stay with them? So it's been an interesting journey so far.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I call it, like when we spoke in German, a comfortable pandemic, because I do feel, like, oh my goodness, I can sit in my backyard. It's so beautiful outside. I'm in Texas. Oh my God, it's so pretty, right? Everything is green and blooming.
Yeah.
Weather is perfect. I have good food. I can go to the store. Everything is comfortable. And then there is that, there are these vibrations of just kind of uncertainty that move through that you can't see either. Like just when you play guitar and you see a string vibrate, it's there. And so it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, I hear that. I found it absolutely powerful what you just said, that you were asking yourself the question of what if I just had those 2 weeks? What would I do with that? And kind of choosing the only thing I can really do right now is really kind of swim with the water, swim with the stream, rather than fighting against it or changing anything.
There is this quote by Erich Fromm. I don't know if I don't butcher it up right now. It's something like, the quest for certainty blocks the search for meaning. And I think it's uncertain is the very condition that impels man to unfold his power. I like to see females too, and so when I get to that surge of uncertainty, having gone through dark times, where you don't know what the outcome is in the past, I think that also allows that waking into new possibilities. And maybe I don't know what those are, but just like being virtual with clients or being virtual with you right now,
Yeah.
I would not have imagined that when we met in December. And I had heard about you for years from Steve Gilligan and other people. And I was like, I want to meet Eva. And
Me
thank
too.
God we met in person. I really enjoyed that. And we talked about possibilities, teaching together and things like that. And now we're on virtual.
Yeah.
And we up in a virtual reality here. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
New world.
It is really a new world, right? And I can relate that myself. I'm kind of sitting with in the Faust way, like two souls in my heart. I have those two souls that on one hand, I'm really curious about those new ways of connecting. And it seems like sometimes it's the prison in the mind that stops me from thinking opportunities out, and then with the virtual bridge now it's so much easier to say, oh, we can just have a conversation this easy.
Right.
The possibilities were there before, but it didn't really cross my mind that much. It was before, oh, I'm gonna come see you, visit, and that's how we connect. But somehow this challenge brought some of the beforehand possibilities really to our attention, that we can use it. On the other hand, I'm also sitting with this longing and with this need for real connection and physical connection, and also I guess a possibility for trusting connection again, for not feeling hesitant if is it okay to hug somebody, or right now that's not really okay. And that feels really strange for me, as I usually quote Virginia Satir, that we need 4 hugs a day for survival.
8 for maintenance and 12 for growth. And I usually open a workshop like that. And whatever seemed to be like a nice warm up in workshops has now become, to me, really a big symbol, a metaphor for human connections and the quality of really feeling each other on that level, and how that has become dangerous.
Yeah. And we have so much in common now with the whole world, right? The
Yes.
whole world is at home. I mean, sometimes I'm standing in awe of that. The whole world is at home. We're all doing the same thing. And I guess I have to give my own hugs to
I do
myself
that
every day.
Yeah, those techniques. I wonder, you're such an experienced, beautiful hypnotherapist. You work with music. You have this amazing creative mind that I just love so much, that you're marrying different languages, which I find is just amplifying the possibilities when we work with the creative unconscious mind. And I have a couple of your recordings of your CDs, and I just can't stop listening to them. You just transport me in
So
this
sweet. Thank
other
you.
land. And your voice is just, it just really comes from this amazing place, and really strokes the soul and allows to go to these many different places. But that's you offering the recording to others. I wonder, what is it that you do maybe as a daily practice, or activities that help you in these challenging times to sit with those edges you talked about, to sit with the vulnerabilities, to soothe yourself, to connect, to ground, to prepare?
I had to do quite a lot in the beginning, but one of the things, and I think this has always helped me through rough times, is I grew up in the Bavarian forest. So really in a national park pretty much. And my father used to say to me, whenever you encounter sorrow, or when you feel betrayed by the world, or you just need answers, you just go out into the forest.
Yeah.
You listen to the rustling of the leaves, you touch the bark of the trees, you hear the sounds of the birds, the plants. And he used to say that right there you realize, I can only say it in German, die Allmacht Gottes. How would you say the omnipotence of God? To me, it's also the omnipotence
of nature. Yeah.
The omnipotence of the universe, right? Of nature. Or when I bring that image to my mind, when I go skiing, I stand on or hike to the top of a mountain, right?
Yeah.
And you stand on top of that, and your eyes look out over the horizon, and then suddenly there's that moment when you realize that you're so small and everything is so unimportant, and yet I feel so connected.
Yeah.
At the same time. And I go back to that image, and that's my own trance in a way, right? That's my own way of, that's in me. And when I first came to Texas, I was looking for the forest. I was looking for nature. And, Texas is kind of a lot of the land is private property. The fences all around. You're in Bavaria, you just go out, you're in the forest. It doesn't matter who it belongs to. So I had to really find nature, and I think we created a lot of nature in our backyard. So every morning I start my morning sitting out in the backyard with a Hollywood choker, one of those swings that very well, right? and I watch nature, and it's not that nature is so kind. Nature can be quite cruel, and when you see that, it really brings me into my body. And smelling the coffee, and I read poetry, and read poetry or write poetry in the morning, and that really helps me to stay grounded. And then in the beginning, I also listened to a lot of ISH, the International Society of Hypnosis, has brought out a lot of little audio clips.
All right.
The people I really admire and love, and they did a lot of beautiful things. I've made audio clips myself, I think, for this virtual reality company, and it's fun, but especially in the morning, I think bringing that solace into myself. It's my own self-hypnosis, my own meditation, and that's how I go on. And then also and move into a space of creativity and flow. And that's how I can tend to my clients, and that's how I can tend to myself. When I lose that,
Mm-hmm.
it does not feel good.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, did I not sit outside long enough today? Did I not?
Yeah.
What is it that I didn't do? And music, of course. Music is all around me. Even the birds thing. And I love playing music on my iPhone or on the computer. Music is all around me. It's always been. I come from a family of musicians, so it's nice.
It seems whatever your music is has always been me connecting to the somatic mind and doing, put something into movement or a dance or use the body as an expressive way to find my inner music. At least that was my connection, that music wasn't part in my family. I never played an instrument, which I do tend to regret a little bit, that I didn't really grew up with that, being exposed to it, so that would be a natural resource for me.
Yeah, I grew up with trumpets and horns and in our house all the time, so it was not something natural to me. And now my husband is a musician, different instruments, so music is always around me. I used to play music. I don't play that much anymore, but only for myself.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to know that you are so willing to share yourself too, that sometimes you may not have that connection, you lose it, and then you notice, oh, that's a place I need to return to. But because sometimes I feel, as professionals, at least I know that in me, that I have this expectation that I'm doing all these practice all the time perfectly, and then I'm realizing, oh, all the commitments I made, sometimes I didn't really keep track of it. And then I noticed through an imbalance in me that the imbalance is letting me know now is a time to return back to my practice. I lost track of it. And so
I think that's important. I think that's the only way I can almost create like a new way of being that morning, right? When you get up from the night, and who knows what dreams you may have had, right?
Yeah.
And then you have that opening in the morning to move into the day with curiosity, with a new way of being. And every day is new, because we don't really know what it holds. I don't know what I encounter with my clients, and it's interesting. And I think by tending to them, I also tend to myself, as strange as that sounds.
Yeah, I get that. Did you make any like insightful awakenings out of this special time, that you said, oh, here's something that comes to my mind that now I really know that's really important to me, and this special times brings it more to the foreground? Maybe it's not something completely new, but maybe reconnecting to maybe values that are important to you, or exercises or awarenesses. Is there anything that out of this time that you would think it brought something more back to my attention?
I think the most important thing is really making it a priority for me to be in nature. And experiencing that solace. And then another thing, I was writing a book that I have put down for quite some time, and I started picking it back up and just spending a little bit of time every day tending to it, even if it just means I'm thinking about it, because that was definitely something I hadn't thought for a while to complete. And I feel that it's a calling now that really needs to be finished.
So an inner urge, like an inner voice that says, continue to write me. This is
it's this thing. It's a book for, well, it's two books, but one is for musicians and their partners, and how to, and their therapists and anybody involved with them, how to make each other thrive in a way. And I think that's been, musicians and music has been part of my world, in my professional world, for so long, right? So it's calling. And then the other one, of course, how to attuning to the own rhythms of your body, rhythms of your mind, with music, learning from music and the concepts that are ever so present in music, that so many musicians do. We listen to, and we have such a hard time of doing. And I think that is something that calls me
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit now. I really need to finish this.
Right. So is there anything that you learned from the way that musicians do the music that is something that we could learn more about, that we could pick up in terms of moving forward after maybe us having hopefully all gotten a wake-up call for things needing to be changed and finding creative new approaches? So I wonder, what could we learn from the musicians that is important for us to apply into everyday's life?
I think what I really like to say about that is the concept of timing. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
I love
and
that.
it relates to communication too, right? When musicians are on stage and you watch them, when there's a solo, everyone supports the solo. They're not going to chime into the solo. Well,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes maybe it happened, but very rarely. And how do you relate that into your life now? You know, a special way of timing when you call to something. When do you speak up as a woman? When do you sit back? When do you watch? When are you empowered? I mean, all these things. There's so many concepts of that that I like to use, or just vibrations. You know, how do I tune into vibrations? I wake up not feeling good. What kind of vibration is that? Maybe it has nothing to do with anybody, but how do I consciously change that vibration? By sitting with myself, by meditation or music, or you doing it through dance a lot, I'm sure. How do I change that? And it's easy to do with music.
I love that. It sounds like music really helps to stay in the rhythm of life rather than trying to control or force it or make something happen, but being with that flow that naturally is there, and then giving space and holding the space, and there seems to be a natural
Mm-hmm.
way of doing that that supports the
Yeah.
music.
And you know, when jazz musicians, for instance, when they play together, right, they improvise. And
Mm-hmm.
then within minutes, all of them assume the same pulse. I mean, literally their pulse together. And then a little while later, the audience assumes the same pulse,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is in tune. So how can we be in tune with ourselves and with each other every day? I think that's concepts that you find in music.
And that's a good recipe to have a good relationship, right? Have a good,
Exactly.
either way, one-on-one or a whole group, and just to,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think another thing I ask myself a lot now that I have not asked myself so much lately is, you know, going back to this Fromm quote, is like, how do I witness my inner power in
Mm-hmm.
the midst of uncertainty? It's easy to witness when I do something that's fun or I'm presenting or something,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
how do I witness it? I have it. Everybody has it. There's an inner power in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
How do I touch that in that midst of uncertainty? And then how do I awaken into those new possibilities, like being on virtual world, or maybe the world will look a little bit differently? How do I wake that? And one of the mottos I think at this point is, if when the ground turns to ocean, swim, and if you can swim, get on a raft.
Mm-hmm.
But it is possible.
Using the possibilities that are there.
Yeah, exactly. How they're seeing the possibilities. And just like when you think of crisis, you know, I've been teaching crisis intervention for years, that
Yeah.
opportunity for change. But I think, you know, when you look in hypnotic, when you create a bit of crisis so
Yeah.
that you can have the change, you know, through your language, it's that state of confusion, right, where you can be reached. I can be reached. But of course, here I have to know, how do I reach myself to change into a direction that is healing and powerful and brings about solace and creativity and flow at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
I actually learned in this phase that one of my powers is actually a place that knows how to be really gentle with myself and
Yeah.
not use my strength that I have
actually exercised many years and you know, gathering resources and gathering certain strength and skills. But I realized they were coming from necessity, and I got really good at them. And this time really brought me back to a place of kindness and gentleness in myself that had actually slowed down more of my inner process and allowing me to do some internal family healing work. And really, I heard it from Stephen Gilligan say many times that when you touch your vulnerability, that he would say that's where your power is. And I found it a lot of times really confusing hearing it. Like, what are you talking about? But having a sensory experience and really digging into, not just as a concept, but really feeling it inside out. And this time I really noticed how powerful the most gentle and vulnerable parts is, because that's where the energy goes and nothing else is possible. And if I give that my, let's say, my motherly kindness, so that I hold the space for those vulnerable parts to really come forward, it really brings a new marriage of a new aspect, at least in me. That was something I learned about myself, that now is a good time to really tune to those gentle parts again, because they're really powerful in terms of drawing the energy.
Yeah.
And I find the same is true if outside forces are coming to us. If I try to go against it, nature will quickly teach me who is the strongest of the two of us.
Exactly.
But if I kind of use the ways of being with it, and navigating my way with the possibilities of nature, then that's different.
Yeah. And I really resonate with that completely. In martial arts, right, capoeira, for instance, you go with the flow. You don't, you know, in order to, when somebody comes at you, you just redirect and you go with it. And it's such a beautiful grace that comes with that. And I know in myself too, if I start to reject all that, it's not a good picture. I'm not going to do really well. One of the things I do with my clients, and I like to use for myself, is just in trance, you know, for instance, very simple exercises like taking that part of you that is, you know, really maybe hurting, or the part that's really anxious, that's really at the edge of that vulnerability, right? And just for a moment, when you imagine yourself maybe being at the ocean or in the forest, and putting that part next to you, and just allowing it and looking at it, and then giving it what it needs.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's at the ocean, it needs an umbrella. Maybe it needs a hug, and just allowing that part to just be supported by yourself, right? And then working with that, and then you have a little bit more access to everything else underneath it, but you're also not neglecting that part, because it's an important part to have, right?
Yeah.
That's where your strength lies, and what does that part need right now? So I love working with that. Mine usually sits under an umbrella.
Oh, nice. So you actually you locate it in the body first, I hear it, then you start externalizing it and giving it a good distance, a good space.
Yeah,
so
you can give it space, or you can give it what it needs. Maybe it doesn't need space, maybe it needs tucked under, you know, what does it need? How does it feel? Does it transform when it has that? And then suddenly there's more space available for you inside, but there's also a possibility of seeing that part in a different way.
Yeah. And it's such a beautiful way of honoring that whatever happens in your body is making sense, that it's active. And then the question is, how do I create a positive relationship, a positive communication with that? And that's usually very new, because a lot of times we learn to like, oh, that's uncomfortable, let me put it away, medicate it, or push it away, or something like that. But actually attune to it, put attention to it, and create a relationship and conversation with it is sometimes seems counterintuitive, and takes some practice to
and you can bring it back in, and maybe it will be there in a different way, or you can imagine it next. depends. It's really funny what people do with that, clients, you know, what they come up with, and it's also a playful way.
I love that. I love playful anyways. And, you know, when we touch those difficult times or difficult places, I think playfulness really helps to get a little bit release of the edges that we feel. So I really appreciate that.
And even with Zoom, I love using these backgrounds. I'm at the ocean today. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, it's just a fun way to play. And sometimes, I mean, you know, you see clients now in their bedroom, in their kitchen, in their bathroom. It's really funny. So with Zoom, they can change the background. And it's
That's
pretty cool, actually. It's really fun. I mean, that is a lot of fun, actually.
That's true. Any last quote or symbol or song that you say that is coming to mind?
I like to use that metaphor of water a lot of times, and when I imagine it in myself too, it's really powerful, because water can be so gentle, right?
Yeah.
It can cleanse your body. It can nourish you when you're thirsty, and it's super fierce. It can erode mountains. Can take away villages. It can take out fires.
Yeah.
And 80% of your body is made of water. And that's always something I like to remember. I have all of that inside of me. And it's, what do I tend to, right? What is that right now? And for ASH, you know, I'll be the president of ASH in next month. And I had to write my first newsletter. Thank you. And I think one of my things was, I think it's just the new motto there has to be live and learn. Because you're moving into a whole new world of providing trainings online, which was never even thinkable.
Yeah.
For ASH, which has taken on new ways and new forms, cannot replace, I think, meetings together, but it's a way to at least have hypnosis go on.
I'm so happy to hear that a powerful, beautiful, skillful woman is going to be the president of that organization.
So sweet.
That is, I just so celebrate that. I'm so happy. I'm so touched, because I find that a beautiful woman like you with so much wisdom and so much expertise and just also the open-mindedness, you know, bring so many other qualities in. It's just so rightfully this time at this position. So congratulations, and I'm very, very happy about that.
I have lots of help and lots of committee members who are really skilled and powerful. Also lots of women in there, which, I mean, you'll be the first virtual president of ASH. A whole new era that they're basically moving into.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing this space with me for the conversation. I learned a lot. I feel very enriched. It was nice to bathe in these waters with you and enter the forest with you. That was quite a nature journey that we took, and it was just very nice to exchange with you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me, Eva, and best wishes. And I hope we can create many more things together.
Yeah, me too. I look forward to it very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Ciao. The ideal thing will be for me to demonstrate this for you, which is quite simple. So as I've just switched to the full screen so that you can actually enjoy this beautiful ocean, you get to sit back comfortably in a way that is right for you. And just notice the waves slowly dancing up on the shore, while you take a deep breath into your belly and let go. And another deep breath in. The way the waves come in and let go. And one more open, deep breath. And let go. So for a moment, maybe you can notice the colors of the ocean and the colors of the horizon where the two meet. And maybe you can even feel the breeze of the ocean on your skin, so gentle, as if caressing your cheeks. Just notice. And you can either keep your eyes open or you can close your eyes while you feel your feet on the ground, resting. And you can notice the sensations of your toes, resting. And maybe you can allow the palms of your hands to feel the sensations of whatever they're touching or whatever they're noticing. If your palms are up, and maybe that picture of the ocean, that amazing serenity, can be with you even when you close your eyes. Or you can even turn it into another picture, a favorite place you've been to that you can recall in your mind. And then for a moment, just for a moment, you can allow yourself to feel that uncertainty in your body, maybe located somewhere in your body. And then placing your hand on that part. Just breathing into it. Being with it in your own way. Or you can feel the vibrations of that part. And I don't know if they feel like high waves coming in or like lower waves. Doesn't really matter because you can take a deep breath into that part and hold it dear in your hand. And then for another moment you can put your hands back down towards your body. And imagine for a moment that you can place this part right next to you. Maybe right next to you on the beach or anywhere else or you can see it and take a look at it. Just notice its color, its shape. It's a part of you. And in this moment, just give it what it needs. If it's next to you on the beach, you could give it a sunscreen or an umbrella. You could give it a drink or a book, whatever it is. If it's out in the ocean, maybe it needs a wrap. And then using your soft, gentle eyes, just looking at that part, sending it love, sending it compassion. And if you can send it gratitude. And if you just want it to go away, it's okay too. You can still send it compassion. And as the waves keep dancing up on the shore, you can be assured that everything is all right. Just notice what that part needs. Maybe it's a different color, it's a shade, a color. Or maybe it needs a hug, and you can bring it closer to you. Or you can move it a bit further away, which is okay too, to distance yourself a bit. And then just feel yourself in your body. Notice if you can breathe perhaps a bit more lightly now. Or maybe there's more space inside. Just notice. And then look at your part again. The part that is vulnerable to uncertainty. Just notice, see it, be with it. And then see what it takes to bring it back into your body. Or tuck it under your arm so that you can be with that part in a compassionate way. And as the waves keep dancing upon the shore, they move back out into the ocean. You can see the beauty surrounding it. And there's so much uncertainty in that water. You can go underwater and you can dive, and you still know there's uncertainty. How deep the ocean is. all the amazing things, animals, and caves, and cliffs, and reefs that are under the water. So much beauty. And some we will never know. And that's okay. And as there is uncertainty surrounding you in this moment, that's okay too. Because you can be okay. And you can tune into all of your powers of uncertainty. Because they're all inside of you. And you can know that on a deeper level. The way you know that the ocean is so deep. And it can be okay to swim in it. Can it not be? No. And then you can finish this process. And you can bring back with you what's important, leave behind what's unimportant. And in the days to come, you can practice this. You can take 3 deep breaths. You can go back to the picture of this ocean, or you can go back to the place in your mind. And when uncertainty enters or is activated in your body, you stay with it. And then you place it next to you. And you give it what it needs. And you look at it with soft eyes. And you have more room in your body and in your psyche to breathe. And maybe notice that feeling of joy and lightness. And you can bring the other part back into your body. And whenever you need to, you can ask it to step to the side or to distance yourself a bit from it. And you do that with your eyes of compassion. You can practice that every day from now on. And then you can bring yourself slowly, slowly back into your body, feeling your hands and all the energy in your hands, feeling your feet on the ground, feeling your toes. And on the count of 3, you'll be fully back, relaxed and energized and ready for the rest of the day. That's 1, 2, and 3. And that was a very easy process that you can practice on your own. It's very simple, it's very easy. And when you do that daily, you will notice how you become more accepting and you become more compassionate with that part of you. And you can also externalize it in a way that seems right for you at that moment, and then have more space to utilize your resources within, your spaces of creativity, and then having the part back whenever it is, all right,